The surface seemed unnatural, like walking on a water-filled balloon. I held the lumalights at arm's length, but all it did was create a fuzzy halo around me. On I went, further into the darkness, a bit fearful of what I might find. There was a chance Kilroy was lurking somewhere, and I hoped not to find him. Or worse, him find me. I wandered aimlessly until familiar lights appeared in the distance. I hustled through the dark toward a pale glow, but remained cautious. But soon enough, I found myself beside Rusty, guided by the light of his saucer-shaped eyes. Rusty, are you okay?
I am in working order, sir.
What are you doing here?
My master is attempting to purchase parts, sir.
I searched the darkness for any sign of a store. From where?
A tinker ship, sir.
Can you show me where?
I could, sir.
Would you please show me where the tinker ship is, Rusty?
I was told not to, sir.
She told you not to tell me?
I was told you would most likely feel the word frustrated, and that you should have waited on the ship, sir.
Is that so? Rusty studied me for a moment, his eyes glowing bright.
Are you displaying the word frustrated? I would like to add it to my database, sir.
Yes, Rusty, add it to your database. Frustrated, I wandered back into the darkness. After a few moments, pitch black gave way to dark brown, then light brown, until a ship appeared before me. A small, oval-shaped, dented and worn vessel fastened to the ground by large, rusted chains. Beyond the ship's narrow doorway stood the female Earthling, and beside her stood a tall, gangly creature with pink, saggy skin. The two appeared to be communicating silently with their hands. The female Earthling turned toward me and squinted.
And you thought it was smart to leave the ship because...
I held my gun up in the air. I came to rescue you. She smacked the barrel of my gun upward, knocking it from my hands and firmly into her own.
Next time, stay on the ship.
But I thought something was wrong.
There is now.
The saggy skin creature lurched forward. Its body swelled. Its eyes blinked wildly.
You are pondering. Maybe he's not worth the trouble.
The creature spoke. The female Earthling cringed and grabbed me by my shirt.
You are pondering. He's going to get me killed.
Who's getting killed?
You, if you don't shut up.
But the creature said...
O-tops read brainwaves in moments of distress. It was speaking my thoughts.
The female Earthling dragged me outside the ship. She shoved me into the darkness.
Now go find Rusty before you ruin our only chance of getting our winch fixed.
Back into the dark I went. I tried several times and failed to contact the ball of fog, though, in the darkness, I was unsure whether or not I ever truly did. Luckily, after some blind searching, I pinpointed the faint sounds of Rusty's gears grinding in the distance. Rusty, can you hear me? 3 red lights flashed in the distance. Kilroy was near. I sped up, but the surface bounced with each step, making it difficult to run. And after stumbling to my knees a few times, crawling became the fastest mode of transportation. I shuffled along, quietly calling out Rusty as I went. Rusty! Hello? Hello, Rusty! Black hovered all around. I wished to find the female Earthling, Rusty, even our ship, but all I could see was darkness. Faster I crawled, my eyes pinned to my fast-moving hands, until I slammed headfirst into a pair of heavy metallic boots. I lied there, on the ground, too frightened to move. The booted creature reached down, wrapped its strong hand around my arm, and stood me up. Thick straps and shiny buckles ran across its chest, its face shielded by an elaborately decorated white helmet. As the creature scanned me over, my instincts kicked in. I thought back to an old Earth transmission, something Mr. Miyagi taught Danielson. I crouched down low and with all my might, pummeled the creature in the crotch. The creature doubled over, squealing in pain. Help! Kilroy has me! The creature slammed open its blast shield, revealing an Earthling. A male Earthling! The male Earthling tore his helmet from his head and flung it to the ground.
Why'd you go and do that?
I apologize. I thought you were Kilroy.
What gave you that idea?
I saw a red triangle, but then it disappeared, and when I ran into you... The male Earthling cupped his hand over my mouth.
Hold up. You saw Kilroy?
I pushed his hand away. I think so.
Where?
Back that way. But it's hard to say exactly. The male Earthling leaned on my head while straightening his back. By my best judgment, he stood a bit taller than the female Earthling, but not by much. His hair was black and shaved on one side. His eyes were gray and still holding tears from my accurate crotch shot.
Don't worry, little fella. I've got it all under control. Now scamper off.
With a severe limp, the male Earthling trotted into the darkness. Wait! You forgot your helmet! I grabbed hold of the male Earthling's helmet and slid it over my head. The helmet's blast shield cut through the darkness like a burst of sunlight. In the distance, I could see Rusty, and quickly made my way to my robot friend. Rusty, Kilroy's here. Rusty kept his eyes aimed skyward.
Master is aware, sir.
Where is she?
Master said if you manage to find your way back, to shut up and wait for her, sir.
Does she know about the Earthling man?
I am not aware, sir.
Rusty tilted his head back. What are you looking for, Rusty?
My master's ship.
She left us? The faint sound of boots crept up behind me. I slipped the male Earthling's helmet back on my head when something smashed into my back, forcing me to the ground.
Didn't see you there, little fella.
He reached down and snatched his helmet from off my head.
You should wear a light or something. Then people wouldn't trip over you.
The male Earthling slipped the helmet onto his head and raised the blast shield.
What's with the robot?
His name is Rusty.
Appropriate.
The male Earthling pushed me aside and strutted over to Rusty, who continued to peer into the sky.
Some view, huh?
In what way, sir?
Well, in a pretty sort of way, I suppose.
Space is the word pretty. I shall add that to my database.
You go ahead and do that.
The male Earthling patted Rusty on the head, then returned to my side.
Won't be getting any information out of that rustpot.
Rusty is part of the crew, and is waiting for our ship to pick us up. The male Earthling wrestled his pistols from his holster and aimed them haphazardly into the sky.
What ship? Kilroy's? I've been chasing that Fentata freak all over the galaxy. But don't worry, I'll get him. August Firetorn always gets his man. Or robot. Cyborg thing. I always get the thing I search for.
August Firetorn, that's your name?
I see you've heard of me.
No, but it's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Dean Kilmer from...
Very good. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got work to do. I won't rest until I avenge my father's death.
You must be very brave. Kilroy is quite dangerous. August raised his chin to the sky.
No ding-tata from Dokerstone will ever get one over on August Firetorn. Well, except when he killed my father. And when he destroyed my sweet ride. But never again!
He dropped his chin from its invisible pedestal.
How does someone like you know English? Are you from Tastroon?
Wait, what? No, What is Testrun? Do humans live there? August punched me in the arm.
Ha! Good one.
All of our attention turned to the sky as the female Earthling ship roared overhead. She's back! The ship paused overhead as a rope fell toward us. Rusty reached out, clamped onto the rope, then shot straight into the air. Then the rope dropped back down to me. I reached out to grab hold, but August beat me to it. What are you doing? August grabbed me by the waist and winked. She is not going to like this. August grinned. When we reached the ship, the female Earthling was waiting, with her rifle pointed dead center of August's forehead.
Let him go.
Your choice, but it's a long way down.
She backed off, just enough to let us both into the cargo bay.
Slowly.
I broke free from August's grasp and ran to the female Earthling's side.
Easy, Peaches, we can work it out. I mean, we humans need to stick together, right?
That's the problem. I'm the only human left.
I know 50 ladies back home who would beg to differ.
The female Earthling shoved August to the floor with her boot.
This is ridiculous. I need to get back to finish my mission.
And what mission is that?
Avenging my father's death. I'm not afraid of that Garbolda from Panuta Falls. Why do you think he ran off? Because August Firetorn was on his tail. That's why.
She kicked August in the ribs.
Enough.
The female Earthling slipped August's pistols from off his waist and tossed them against the wall.
Get up.
August stood with his arms raised high in the air.
Am I under arrest, Peaches?
She forced August down the hall with a few rifle jabs to the back.
You're making a big mistake.
The female Earthling led August into a small room, then sealed the transparent door behind him.
Great. Lock me up for saving your little pet creature thing.
I'm not a pet. I'm part of the crew. The female Earthling shut off the voice transmitter on the wall and headed back down the hall.
Let's go.
I followed the female Earthling down the hall and into the cockpit. I wasn't sure what was going on, but I knew she was not happy about having August aboard the ship. I couldn't believe there was another Earthling, and it seemed neither could she. Do you think he's lying?
Yes. And he's staying locked up until I figure it out.
She grabbed hold of the ship's controls and throttled up. The ship shook violently, then stopped. Multiple alarms rang. What's that?
The surface.
Is it breaking apart?
Nah, it's just fussy.
She flipped a few switches on the wall, then spoke into her wrist.
Rusty, dedicate all power to the main thrusters. Then skip to sector 6-45F.
The skip drive is winding out, Master. It is overdue for repairs.
No time for that. Skip us out of here.
She grabbed the controls with both hands, then peeked over her shoulder at me.
Lay on the floor.
Steam poured out from the walls. Didn't you do this earlier?
Different circumstances.
The ship jolted hard enough to send me tumbling backward down the hall, past the kitchen, my room, and finally stopped up against the wall near the engine room. But a few more strong jolts pushed me back again, until I finally came to a stop against the cargo bay door. Oh, what is going on? I peeled my face off the cargo bay window, revealing not a planet or an asteroid, but a creature. A bobber. Best described as a giant black raindrop with 4 stubby legs, the massive creature thrashed about in an attempt to grab hold of the ship. The thrusters screamed. The bobber's legs lunged and smashed into the cargo bay door. I stepped back, fearing the creature may break its way inside.
Full engine, forward thrust.
The ship screamed. Then, everything went white. All was silent. The bobber was gone, replaced by the endless expanse of space. We somehow skipped out of harm's way. I hobbled through the hall and past August's cell, his face planted firmly against the transparent door. I shuffled past with a polite nod, then headed straight to the cockpit.
You okay?
Just a little bit bruised and confused. She stood close to the wall and studied a blurry image on one of the cockpit monitors. Upon closer inspection, I noticed it was August. He waited in the dark, a red triangle hovering above his shoulder. The female Earthling turned a knob, making the image a bit clearer. Kilroy's face appeared in the darkness. 3 terrifying eyes, blood red and held in place by thick metal tubes. Wires crisscrossed the creature's torso like a metal mummy, and sharpened shards of metal stuck out from his frame in all directions, covered in blood, rust, and oil.
Next time, stay on the ship.
But what if something happened to you?
Then you'd be dead. Now we have to deal with that moron back there.
She studied the image closer. Do you think he's working for Kilroy?
That's what I intend to find out.
She swiped her pistol off the counter, cocked it, and stormed out.